Hi friends, my name is Haley Comet and welcome to my little cosmic corner of the internet where we dive into all things astrology. Today we are continuing on in our lunar self-care series, diving into Gemini moon. So what it means when you have your natal moon in the sign of Gemini and ways that you can self-soothe. Now, the relationship between moon and self-care is very strong as moon describes our private internal world. What makes us feel safe and stable? So what makes you feel safe and stable, Gemini? I'm going to break it all down. So first and foremost, there is a strong desire for communication. You have a Mercury-ruled moon. So Gemini is ruled by Mercury. Mercury rules your moon as a Gemini moon. So there's a strong relationship between how you feel, that's your moon sign, and communicating it honestly. Find an avenue for you to express your world. Gemini can be a very scattered energy. It's kind of all over the place, whereas communication, stringing together sentences, communicating, writing, it forces you to feel and think in a more linear fashion, and it might allow you to make sense of your emotions. It is an air moon. So air rules communication, exchange of ideas. So your emotions might not make sense. So I really implore you, get a journal, get a Finsta, get a fake Twitter, have a friend you can confide in. Just the meeting of emotions with messaging is a really strong connection for you. So Gemini moons have ways that you can communicate, because you might even realize that you didn't realize you were upset. And then when talking about it with your sister, you're like, wow, that actually did bother me. Now that I talk it through, I realize how much it did. So have an avenue in which you can express yourself. What are ways that you feel supported? So another one is curiosity. So Gemini is the archetype of the eternal student. So it is very important for you to constantly be intrigued and curious about the world around you. So allowing yourself to take in new stimuli, whether that's reading, and also give yourself permission if you do not finish the book. Gemini is very curious and kind of all over the place. So you might start books and then get really intrigued by underwater basket weaving and need to read a book about that, and then get intrigued by tarot and need to read a book about that. Allow your curiosity to guide the way. Don't give yourself too much pressure to stay within one direction. As I mentioned, Gemini can be a little bit scattered. Allow yourself to be intrigued, because a depressed Gemini moon is someone who's no longer intrigued by the world around them. So you might be someone who always likes to listen to podcasts, YouTube videos in the background, or always likes to, have audiobooks while driving, having a lot of stimuli to kind of come in, because there is a strong need for Gemini moon to feel connected to the world around them. So allowing yourself to connect to stimuli, it'll kind of remind you that you're not alone. You are connected. You're being mentally stimulated and intrigued. So have a podcast that you listen to, and be intentional with your brain food. I like to think of it as brain food, because Gemini, the kind of lower vibration of Gemini is being kind of victim to a lot of stimuli without really considering the quality of the content, or it could be being drawn to like gossipy things, or being really, really dialed into all of like the YouTube drama or all of the celebrity gossip. Be intentional about it, because the purpose of a Gemini moon and something that feeds your soul is learning. And with that curiosity, it might lead you down those roads, and that's fine if you're learning about it, but also just with your hungry mind, you can accumulate so much vast information on different subjects, and what's going to help you more down the line. Like when you're networking at a business event, being able to like recount the Tati and James Charles drama in detail, or being able to chime in about Russian history. So be intentional, use your curiosity to guide the way. So with a moon sign, we look to how the individual learned to self-soothe. So our moon sign also describes our actual mother, a maternal figure, or how we learn to mother ourselves. So someone with a Gemini moon, there's a couple different manifestations that it can take place. One, you could have experienced as your mom as being very social or very intelligent, as these are Gemini archetypes. With Gemini, the archetype is the twins. So there is this element of duplicity. So it could have been that your mother was bipolar, or she would flicker very quickly, or was two things at once, or lived some sort of double life that you were cognitive, of course, this can vary. So it could be, as extreme as being actually diagnosed as bipolar, or it could be like as minor as just, she's a bank teller by day and burlesque dancer by night, or just something little like that. But with that sort of mothering, you learned that there is more than one side to everything. And with it, it kind of embedded this sense of curiosity, of searching out. You were not taught in childhood that you had to be one thing. So in adulthood, you might struggle with committing because this curiosity is leading the way, and it makes you want to be everything to everybody and to live every sort of life. The quote from Sylvia Plath is like coming to me, although she was not a Gemini moon, about how it broke her heart how she had to just live one life when she wanted to do so many things. And that really reminds me of Gemini moon. So find a life and co-create a life where you still have freedom to roam by taking classes, to reading books, to maybe having an element of work where you have to dive into different subjects, or having an element of sales where you have to communicate with different people and kind of learn about different people. But also be mindful of your tendency to run away when things get too deep. Gemini can be a very surface level sign, just wanting to kind of learn about the subject at hand and not necessarily wanting to go down and deep with things. So you might feel the tendency to run when there's deepness in intimacy, or when you're getting really, really entrenched into one career, just feeling this tendency to be like, oh no, I gotta be free, or I gotta go learn about something else. And that could have been something that was embedded in you in childhood because you saw or you witnessed the duplicity of people. And it could have been embedded in you that, that life was not meant to be lived doing just one thing, that you need to expand and to learn about it all. So nurture yourself, but also be mindful of when those tendencies arise of your feeling of wanting to run or wanting to do something else as soon as it gets too deep. Be mindful of your stimuli, as I mentioned earlier. It could just help you feel really connected. Be mindful of your social groups. With Gemini moon, consciously meet different people. It helps intrigue that curiosity part of yourself, and you could be really gifted conversationalist. Continue to work at listening as much as you talk. As I mentioned, like Gemini moon is a very intelligent energy, but really listen to people, be there with them, be mindful of any tendency that you might have to kind of get distracted. When processing emotionally and also just giving yourself kind of self-care, use your distraction in a mindful way. So what that means is you can have a tendency to kind of be distracted when you're in a interpersonal relationship, like talking about something and then you're like, oh, but look over there, like why is that? That maybe wouldn't be the best expression, but also I would say when you are down in the dumps about something, or you're just feeling kind of low about yourself, you can kind of use that distraction in a more healthy way. So maybe like if you're really upset, you got a bad grade on a test, or you didn't do great with your job review, maybe distracting yourself like, okay, well, I'm gonna go to a museum, I'm gonna see new things, and I'm gonna distract myself that way. As I mentioned with Gemini moon, there might be just a fear around going deep with emotions, and if you don't wanna kind of go there, you are gifted in being able to compartmentalize and divert your attention and your brain elsewhere. Other self-care tips: communicate, have a journal, maybe even write, have a blog. It doesn't need your name by it. You could write a song, just kind of have a way of processing your emotions that makes you be more linear and makes you kind of dive into them in a way that's not scary. Think of like your student and you're trying to study and get to the bottom of this emotion, and it might help you kind of understand it. You do have a tendency to brush things off, even maybe before you realize the depth of what was done to you, because as mentioned with Gemini, it's a pretty surface energy and they can get distracted. But if you are genuinely hurt about something, typically how it happens is you might brush it off when it comes in and then later realize when you write about it or when you think about it, it's a very mental sign. You might be like, wow, that kind of hurt me. Have conversations about those things. With the Mercury-ruled moon, it's really essential to verbalize and express your internal world. It's really essential for you in an interpersonal relationship or anything else that you are learning and growing and expanding. So consciously choose partnerships that kind of push you or intrigue you or put you out of your comfort zone, that introduce you to different people. Maybe design a job that allows you to stimulate the creative part of yourself. There is a nervous energy associated with Mercury-ruled moons, so allow yourself to find ways to turn your active active mind's off. So maybe it's brain dumping all of your thoughts onto a journal, which I keep mentioning. Or maybe it's doing something totally different to your realm of work. Just something that kind of shuts your mind off, because you can be really nervous and that can infiltrate your sleep patterns or things like that. Have hobbies for yourself that have nothing to do with work, that it's just a way for you to grow and expand. Constantly be, conscious with your brain food. Gemini moons, love you all. You guys are such great conversationalists and so fun to spend time with. I would love to hear, what are your techniques for self-care? Share in the comments below. Like, comment, and subscribe. Next week is my Cancerian moons, and I'd love to hear what else you want to see from me. Until we meet again, stay cosmic.